Welcome to Seattle Maritime Matters. I'm Tosca Pinder with the Seattle Propeller Club, and today we're here with Joshua Berger, who is the president and CEO of Washington Maritime Blue. Thanks for joining us today, Joshua.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here with you, Tosca, of course.
Great. Well, let's have you start off by sharing about Washington Maritime Blue. What's it all about?
Maritime Blue is what we call an innovation cluster organization. We're a membership-based organization that focuses on accelerating innovation, sustainability, and equity across all things related to maritime and oceans. It's how we define the blue economy. Our organization spun out of a statewide process. The governor convened a Maritime Innovation Advisory Council back in 2017, and the state created a strategy for the blue economy, how we could really be a global leader, a center of excellence for maritime and oceans here in Washington state. And in that strategy, as we were developing that strategy, we went around the globe to places like Norway and Portugal and Hamburg and Singapore, and we're studying, how are you leading? How are you leading on driving capital and new technologies and bringing industry and government and research institutions and community organizations all together? And they all had these things called cluster organizations. And so we set in that strategy that we wanted an independent organization that would drive forward all of the goals and strategies, initiatives, and capital to move this work forward. And so we spun it out of our State Department of Commerce. And we've been independent since fall of 2018 and now coming on our 5th year of operations.
Washington Maritime Blue is really multifaceted, and I'd love for you to share a little bit more about the Innovation Accelerator and its goals.
Yeah. So the Innovation Accelerator, that accelerator specifically is a 4-month program designed and now tuned really specifically for venture scale startups in the maritime and ocean space. So we focus on really 5 key areas across the organization, but this points to our accelerator as well. We're working in maritime decarbonization, renewable ocean marine energy, digitalization across maritime and oceans, sustainable fishing and seafood, and those things related to creating a more sustainable and healthy ocean. It's sort of an ecosystem perspective. And so we admit anywhere between 7 and 14, 15 companies a year into that program, sort of like an MBA in a box, right? So we have mentors and expertise helping them tell their story, do financial modeling, the legal and HR side of starting new companies and startups. So all sort of the typical accelerator mentorship. What's unique about our program is that these founders then all get connected to our cluster, which is 135 members, some of the largest global OEMs to our key maritime and transportation companies here in the region, one-person engineering shops, national laboratories, universities, ports, transit authorities, cities, municipalities, utility companies, other NGOs. They get direct access and mentorship from those folks as well. So they can help them with getting early demonstration and pilot projects underway, early sales, market analysis. They get access to what many folks don't get access to in this space or in a traditional accelerator. But that's sort of the top, that's sort of the narrowing of the funnel of these really, ready to scale companies that have maybe an early product or an MVP, they call it, have a team, maybe have some early investment, but they're ready to start to scale. Our Blue Ventures programs also, we have our Tacoma incubator, we have an international accelerator program, partners with other incubator programs to help sort of draw what we call the top of funnel. So those budding young ideation early companies that are then ready to fit into our accelerator program. Well, we had hoped, but didn't figure how successful these companies would be in just the first 4 years of the program. So collectively, the 35 companies that have come through our various programs have now raised more than $500 million collectively of both dilutive and non-dilutive dollars, grants, Department of Defense, SBIR requests, and created over 400 jobs in our region. which is really staggering from how we got this underway in a pilot and how it's grown and been successful.
It's tremendous, the amount of support you're providing to startups in this space. It's much needed, and it's been great to watch. I know that you guys have also been so instrumental with other projects around the community. Can you share a little bit about those projects?
Yeah. Well, so our organization has sort of 4 key areas. The Blue Ventures, all the work with startups is one of them. Another area where our focus is in joint innovation initiatives and projects. And so, our sort of view of the world is that through collaboration across that quadruple helix, we call it, of industry, research institutions, government partners, and community-based organizations, that's how we're really going to scale and accelerate into these new markets. And so we're often convening groups around key topic areas like digitalization, 5G and high-speed networks, and how that can support maritime and industrial areas. Key initiatives like supporting green shipping corridors and future of fuels for the maritime industry. How do we start activating all the latest in markets and supply chains for maritime and shipbuilding? And so our job is to convene those folks. And then out of those convenings, we spin out key critical demonstration projects. For example, the zero emission foiling fast ferry. And that's where our members will come together and try and advance and create, in this case, the first zero emission foiling fast ferry in the world, and advancing from a concept to the first demonstration project. And through our mechanisms and our collaboration models, we can layer public and private capital to get those projects done. We can do early feasibility and value chain analysis for that work. We can bring together competitors to the table and create new markets together so they can advance together. And that's what we do through our model. So that's our joint innovation work. We have significant work in helping to convene what we call our equity engagement team around supporting more accessible pathways into the workforce and maritime and oceans. And we can talk more specifically about that as well. And then we help connect people, where we call it the Blue Hub, both figuratively and literally, with our space at Fisherman's Terminal and at the Center for Urban Waters in Tacoma, bringing international delegations to the region, bringing delegations from Washington out across the globe to create and connect into these blue economy markets.
It's awesome to hear, really the network that you guys are creating in this community and the impact it's having. One of the items I'd love for you to touch on too is your work in workforce development. Can you share a little bit about the Youth Maritime Collaboration?
Yeah, so the Youth Maritime Collaborative is specifically bringing together youth-serving organizations with sort of our government and formal education ports and the like. And that's really a place where these organizations come together and share best practices, do career awareness work and events. And as we've been coming out of COVID, we've moved from, we were sort of hosting large events and supporting large events, and then moved to a virtual, and now getting back out to doing more in-person events and career awareness events. And so that collaborative just connects specifically further and more accessible access into the pathways in the maritime industry, with a focus on BIPOC and underrepresented communities. Maritime Blue has been able to spin out of that collaborative work specific programs connecting CBOs, community-based organizations in South King County, like Evergreen Goodwill, El Centro de la Raza, other immigrant communities, to essentially create internship programs or early internship programs between youth and the employers that are in our network and are members of our organization. So we provide wraparound services along with our community-based organization partners, provide youth the tools, transportation, early education, like how to use Google, providing resume building activities, providing some field trips to learn about different aspects of the maritime industry, and then connect them with employers who are looking to help be the other end of that pathway. We also provide wraparound services to those employers by providing cultural competency training, DEI training, matchmaking, support services for those employers, specifically to create these more accessible pathways for youth of color into the industry.
Fantastic work. You mentioned earlier about organizations that work with Maritime Blue. What types of organizations are these?
Yeah, so this is what's unique about a cluster organization. So we're not strictly a trade association. We're not a conservation organization. When we say cluster, we mean bringing together industry partners from various different aspects, like I said, from one-person engineering shops to some of the largest global OEMs, our research institutions, so University of Washington, the Pacific Marine Energy Center, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, WSU's Consortium for Hydrogen and Electrically Generated Fuels. So all these sort of research components. And then we have our public partners, so ports and cities, transit authorities, and then other NGOs that are doing work, whether it's in workforce development or around conservation opportunities. And so, you know, our job is sort of be the catalyst or facilitator of all those entities figuring out how to advance together. And that's really our theory of change. Well, and if you're interested in getting more involved, there's lots of opportunities. There are doors at every entry point, whether it's engaging with our startups, engaging in strategic markets, becoming an employer with our Youth Maritime Collaborative. Please be in touch. You can get in touch with us at info@maritimeblue.org.
Amazing. It's really a community connector and bringing the community together to move forward with change and innovation. I would love to end this with just having you share, why are you optimistic about the future of the maritime industry?
In this region across the globe, right, it is a legacy sector that is just part of it's part of our global connectedness. I mean, everything from 80% of all of our goods are moved by sea, but also all this sort of untapped energy, untapped resources, sustainability at its core. I mean, being a merchant mariner by trade, by background, you get a unique sort of sense of the connectedness that happens when you're out on the water and out on the ocean, whether you're doing it for commercial, for tourism, for trade, for harvesting. And so the untapped potential that exists in the ocean with the generations and time immemorial of folks working on and near and connected to the ocean, you understand the possibility for what's to come, what's available. And then you just look at the markets. I mean, it's a $3 trillion industry that's going through major transformation. And so technology innovation and how we work together is absolutely going to be at the core of that. What we're just doing is tapping all the different models to help accelerate into that. And our region has every part and piece of that together. And so absolutely optimistic from a technology point of view, from a behavior change point of view, in this incredible place that we live in here in Washington State.
Amazing insight, and always love your passion, Joshua. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
So much fun. Thank you, Tasca.